You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Mad Men After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Mad Men After Show.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Bing is for doing, and we are doing another AFTERBUZZ TV podcast of Mad Men Season 5, Episode 8, entitled Dark Shadows. I'm your host, John Comerford. I'm joined on the panel by the lovely and talented Captain Tulich.
Hello.
To my right is the co-creator of AFTERBUZZ, Keven Undergaro.
Hello. Captain from LA Times.
From LA Times. I'm sorry I didn't give you the bona fides. Beg your pardon. In our booth, we have Phil Svitek, producer extraordinaire. Hello. Oh, sorry,
welcome everyone.
And rounding out the panel, Josh Gardner.
How's it going?
So tonight we have, Pete has a fling, so to speak, with Beth. Dawn decides to leave something behind. We have Roger wooing the Manischewitz. Megan goes toe-to-toe with Sally. Let's start off with Betty and her Weight Watchers extravaganza.
Oh, I love this because I've
Catherine,
been
what?
well, just
Please.
because I could relate. Because I think I first went to Weight Watchers when I was 13, when it was really archaic like that. They made you eat liver once a week. It was pretty bad.
Oh goodness!
I actually have the personalized scale at home, and she's
Yes.
counting out cheese cubes.
I've done that.
Oh.
I've done that. And the
Cheese
grapefruit
The
because
grapefruit and
the burnt
and the
toast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like what? You know?
because you had to dry toast.
yeah, you have dry toast, but why burnt toast? Is that so you don't even want to eat the bread?
Okay, here I am as the symbolism whore. but hell,
Well,
and all the talk about hell.
devil
Right.
and all
And so
that
you've got
other
it burnt, and you know, particularly for what stuck out to me was just the drab colors of her world in that house.
And
you know,
dark. Everything was dark.
dark,
And the
very,
fact that
very
she was eating this food all at night. It was always at some form of either early morning and
Yeah,
late
it was
at
not
night.
in the.
It
You know,
was-
that there's kind of shame attached to it.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to do this in the light of day in front of everybody. That's what I was going with that.
Yeah. But it must have been quite revolutionary then, just talking about Weight Watchers, the way they
Right.
sort of got them confessional, they're talking about their week. I mean,
Yes.
this must have been like the actual origins of now that this multi-million-dollar industry of weight loss, this is kind of the start of it.
You know,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
it's 1966. Okay, so not jumping ahead. We see it in the
Yeah.
Tornado, which was a
Mm.
revolutionary car that came out.
Yeah.
We heard last week a Beatles song from Revolver album 1966, but this to me was the ending of the 50s really, and the beginning of an ending of Camelot, let's say early
Yeah.
60s,
Sure.
and beginning which was going to be like the late 60s and the 70s, and just really a big revolutionary change, and so it's interesting to see where Weight Watchers, archaic as you say, it was not just about calories. They were getting into the psychology.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
That was the revolutionary
Well, I
part
love
of
that
it.
Yeah.
at this point it's almost like an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
Yes.
Exactly.
At this time.
Yeah.
But progressive
Yeah.
for the time, because it
Right.
wasn't just about eating less or counting calories.
Yes.
And also tying food to the emotional thing, because, you know, I mean, especially the whole Betty story in the sense, I mean, you know, the fact that she's now overweight.
Yeah.
I find that a kind of a stretch, being someone that was so vain and such a model, but I think the way that we can believe it is because of the emotional issues that she's having in her life and the
well, how about the wonderful composition of the shot when she sees Megan?
Oh.
She's talking about how
Oh,
they
Now,
wow.
what I
Is
love
it-
even
is the shot
Good,
after
one at a
that.
time. 'cause
Yeah.
we get a lot of criticism for talking over each other.
So
so.
she has to pick up the kids. Obviously, and she sneaks the view through the and she sees Megan putting on so she sees the young, the lean body compared to hers, and then the shot afterwards with the two of them either side of the sliding glass door and the outfits and everything.
Yeah,
just
John, going
clearly.
to every element, or everyone
Well,
chime in because there was so much
We
there.
saw
Yeah,
her,
there
you know,
was.
okay, Betty's wearing the coat, she's got the scarf, she's really covered up, and the old looking, well, comparatively speaking.
Right,
Then
the
you-
housewife.
Absolutely, that it's almost like a house coat. I mean, it's not a house coat, but you just kind of
Yes.
just really bulky and thick and
The
heavy.
last of the June cleavers.
Exactly. And then you see Megan, and Megan, by the way, Betty's in a dress.
Mm-hmm.
Megan's in slacks and a top,
Yeah.
very colorful, very mod, very hip.
Yeah, and
And-
she's in Betty's in such a plain,
Yeah,
fairly
Almost
large
it's-
coat
it's
and
a
dress.
brownish gray look.
And before you notice, before she even goes into the apartment, she
Yeah.
looks at the
Checks herself in the
mirror
mirror.
in the hallway and kind of presses herself
Yeah,
down. It's like,
'cause-
okay, I'm okay, and walks in and immediately sees Megan.
No, it's like June Cleaver against
Yeah,
Mary
Oh,
Tyler
yeah,
Moore.
it's terrible. And then you see the two of them there, and you say, just chasm between them.
But I mean,
Yeah.
how old do we think Betty is at this point? She's probably only what, in her mid-30s?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
I mean, you know,
I
that's
get it's sort of how I
I
mean, I
mean, I don't
know
even
she's
know that
still the
she's in
younger
her
woman,
mid-30s.
but
No,
it's
no.
now-
But as we've
yeah,
discussed,
Yeah.
you were
back
old.
then. Yeah,
back then you're
30s,
old. That's what I'm
yeah.
just saying. It's so
Yeah.
interesting that it's sort of she's got this matronly look, you know,
Oh.
and it's interesting
yeah.
that you know that
They really heaped it on there.
And,
Wow.
and seeing Megan
Mm.
change.
Oh yeah, Meg
And
got
seeing
to see
Megan
that.
naked and
Yeah.
how thin.
And how she's not anymore. She that used to be that, which spurred her on to do all the other stuff that she did, because going into the enemy's territory, you know. And she even talked about that in the next Weight Watcher thing. It's been a bad week for me. I had to go someplace I didn't really
Yeah.
want to go.
And then,
Uh,
of course, her little release when she got home and ran to the
What was it,
kitchen
the
to grab the Ready Whip.
Yeah, the Ready Whip.
Quick shot in
exactly.
the mouth and
That's
then
right.
oh
spit it out in the sink.
Exactly. Caught herself. How many times have anybody done that?
I thought it was interesting just
I
on
just
the
need the damn.
I've
thing.
never spit it out in the
Yeah,
sink.
exactly. I
mean,
know.
Just a couple of the food shots in this were interesting also
Yeah.
because I gather, you know, we're talking about sort of the beginning of, you know, the food, the whole thing with losing weight and that, but also obviously was the beginning of that really disgustingly processed food that that ad men like this were pushing, you know, like, I mean, like later on with the can,
true.
with the,
Well,
that
they just
purple,
last week they just
Yeah.
did Cool Whip. Was it last week
Yeah.
or 2 weeks ago? They were doing
Right.
Cool Whip, and
Very
now we've got
astute.
yeah.
we've got this
This
thing.
whole
And
thing
that-
of
you know,
convenience,
You're
you
talking about
know?
Megan and the cranberry that came
Yeah.
out of the
The
can.
can.
Yeah.
That was
Exactly.
her Thanksgiving, the modern
Yeah.
modern
housewife.
because
Yeah.
I'm sure up to the I don't know, I mean, but, you know, but it used to be women would cook more, but this is kind of the start of this really food just being processed.
Yeah.
and-
And we're seeing this every week.
And it's
Mm.
interesting, you know, one of the reasons why we have a society that we got 30% of us are obese, 30% of us are overweight, and you see the processed food starting in the 60s. and
Yeah, that's what I think is kind of
lead to.
interesting.
Yeah.
I told you
Yeah.
last week. My
Yeah.
dad was like, it was the beginning of the end.
There you go.
It's a good story.
With the hippies, they ruined it.
Yes.
You
So-
know, color-wise, again, seeing the drab, lots of greens
Yeah.
and blues throughout this, and then again, very smart with the placement of the reds.
Yeah.
So you have like a red ashtray at Weight Watchers. You
Yeah.
have at the apartment when she comes in. You see the big red background.
Yeah.
But it opens with the red tornado.
Yeah,
you
there was
know,
that. And, you know,
the
it-
ad that Dawn's looking through.
And to close it, at the end of Thanksgiving dinner, Betty's wearing red.
Very red.
It's like, whoa, that was such a weird, bold.
And of course,
you
the
wouldn't
devil, the
expect-
snowball's chance in hell.
Yeah.
It's all just
Yeah.
really
And you
smart
would
stuff.
Just I mean, interesting choice for a Thanksgiving dinner, and they really, the lips were red. I mean, everything was.
What do you guys think of Betty's husband and talking about Rockefeller and saying, "quote I bet on the wrong horse,
Yeah.
and I ended up with nothing."
Yeah, and I thought she took that internally.
Yeah.
That's, she's
Well,
thinking
you
of
remember
herself
you,
there.
you remember
did
when
better
she
on
when
horse.
she and Don finally split. It was at the time where her husband now was saying that I'm going to get on this new campaign and things are looking up and we're gonna, I have all this stuff planned. And then now you're at this point where, well, everything didn't really work out for him and they're
Yep.
kind of at a crossroads. So I think
Yeah.
that stress is, mixed with Don trying to deal with, their stress between the kids with Don and with her. And then, of course, his campaign suffering. I think that's where she's getting all of her stress and
I jumped, but
tension, yeah.
guys, I jumped ship for nothing. Meaning,
Yeah.
and what did the mother-in-law say? You
When?
basically you could have married her for sex a few
Exactly,
episodes
yeah.
ago.
Uh-huh.
You
Oh,
could have
that's
had
right.
that
Us,
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now he's coming to the conclusion.
Yeah.
I think symbolically.
Yeah,
I did it
absolutely.
for
You-
nothing.
you
And
actually
you
turned
saw
it on.
You saw it too in his response of like, where are they? They're supposed to be out front, and then finally you just see his impatience and his overall disinterest with dealing with the kids and dealing with this broken marriage that he's now kind of working off of with Betty.
Well, here's a question I have for you guys. Betty, for the first time, when we first met her with Dawn back in the day, she was just this really pretty face who just seemed to add nothing to his life other than just being pretty.
Right.
And when her husband's talking about the Rockefeller campaign, she offers him a lot of advice.
I was just going to speak to that.
Okay,
because
so tell me.
It's the advice. It's almost like the stuff she's learning at Weight Watchers. She's assimilating that, interpreting that, and she's bringing that kind of psychology. And because she didn't do it in the first marriage, she's trying to be more of a partner in this one.
So showing some growth.
Yes, exactly. I think that's what's.
No, she's kind of.
I'm gonna jump that because here's the thing. I think Betty's done that throughout her whole life.
What's that?
I think spew back whatever she's learned, whatever immediate thing she's taken in, because she doesn't get out into the world. She feels like now she's knowledgeable, and she tries to spew that back to whoever will listen. Don just never listens, as we know, and Megan's learned this. He's not an easy guy to talk to, as they joked last episode.
Right. Yeah.
And so, you know, fortunately this guy is willing to listen, but she has no thoughts and opinions of her own. It's just whatever she can spew.
She's like a tabula rasa.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, got by on her looks, which is, I think you see that a lot.
That's what happens
with guys and girls.
So now that she can't rely on those looks, she's trying to fill it
Um,
up with something else.
But do you think that she made any positive impact with him?
Well, from his look, I would say, yeah. I mean, I think he was just impressed that she made an effort, and that she actually said something that was of value to him, and that it was, that he was touched by it.
Do you think, in the strange way, that putting on the weight is also some attempt from her to kind of have people see her beyond her looks? I mean, I know is it kind of in a weird way she is trying to validate?
No, I think it's more on the nose of someone who gets what happens with a lot of that kind of personality. Yeah. They get married, and then they're bored. They let themselves go.
Because her husband's not kind of demanding for her to. She obviously felt more pressure to look thin when she was married to Don. Yeah. I mean, she felt more like the wife that had to look good. Going to things.
I also think
maybe the metabolism went. That happened.
That's true. And I think once she married him, I think all that stuff was unresolved with the failure of the first one and all that other stuff. I think she just couldn't keep it together anymore, and it all started eating her. So she started eating something else.
What do you guys think of the son's drawing of it's a whale harpooned?
Yeah.
You see the red coming out, blood, but it's the whale smiling.
It's the whale. Yeah. Why is he smiling?
Yeah.
Because nobody that big could smile.
And being harpooned.
And harpooned, exactly.
So why was he smiling?
Because the kid drew it, I think. But what I'm saying is she couldn't fathom a whale who's being harpooned smiling. Mm-hmm. She can't. First of all, there's the whole thing about it being a whale.
There's no deeper level of the kid doing that. I mean, they always say kids, when they draw things, there's a deeper meaning to what they're drawing. Well, and he's not around like normal environments with both houses.
Oh, you're suggesting that he's a smiling whale who's being harpooned.
I think there's some kind of juxtaposition.
There's trouble with the kid.
I think that combined with the accidental note on the back from Dawn is that the way of showing just the strain of the kid.
And listen, tell the audience the note. Just remind people.
The note was just something. It was something about.
It said, "I went out to buy a light bulb. When I get back, I'll be able to see you better. Love, Dawn." Yeah. And he wrote it to Megan, and Betty, his former wife, got to read that.
I mean, and you wouldn't really want to see her because she's a fatty.
Exactly.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to see Betty, but you would want to see Megan.
When she reads that, you can see. I mean, you can see her anger to that, and then she turns that into, "Why don't you ask Megan about?"
Yeah, she uses
Dawn's
as
old
a
wife
ploy
before I was married.
So she can get Sally to do her
very
passive-aggressive bidding for her.
Also, by the way, I mean, in this day and age, and you guys know better than I do, but it's also about, it was coming into play, it's about how you interpret the art, right? It's not necessarily what the artist means. So, in talking about the kid and what he meant it to mean, no, at the end of the day, it's whatever Betty's interpretation of it was, and her interpretation was, oh, he drew me, I'm fat, and I'm supposed to be happy. So, and then again, that combined with that note, and so it's that day and age of what does this art mean to me? That's why, you have the dots in Sterling's office, and then you have Ginsberg walk in, he's like, oh, did you connect the dots? Oh, it's supposed to mean something.
Yeah.
God knows what. So. That's
But I
my
mean,
2
it's not
cents.
lost on me. I love the idea that the kid is just, he's damaged in some way too, because it
Has to be.
Yeah, whale being harpooned is.
I know. I just also thought maybe because there wasn't a kid maybe wouldn't have thought that. I mean, we weren't they weren't as conscious of sort of animals being. I mean, there was a lot of wailing going on
Generally
still
speaking,
then. Yeah.
Children aren't, but there
Yeah.
are professions called art therapists,
Right.
and this is exactly what they do. They'll say, "Hey,
all of
draw a
you.
little picture,"
Yeah.
and they'll go, "Mm-hmm."
A friend of mine's one. So yeah.
So this is what it means.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
That startled me.
That's my recess bell. Time to move on to topic number 2.
Well,
But before we do
Okay.
that,
yeah.
isn't it Mother's Day?
Yeah, it is Mother's Day. Today is actually Mother's Day.
So if you have a skinny mother, unlike Betty,
Yeah.
is that too mean?
No, the fat mothers need more, Phil.
I'm just gonna
Oh,
distance.
Alright.
now come on.
I'm gonna distance myself from Phil right now. You go
Yeah.
ahead. You keep going.
Who's going? Am I going?
You're going on your own.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess to Kev's point, if you have a mother and fat mothers need love too, get them some chocolate. Get them whatever. Get them nice gifts.
Wow.
But whatever you're gonna get, and get it through Amazon, right? Because most of you guys are buying online, and it's click, click, click. It's easy.
And
It's simple.
let's face it. A lot of people thought it was next week. It's not. It's today. You guys are already late.
So get on it.
A lot of making up to do.
So here's what. So Mother's Day could be over. You might get that belated gift. Either way, you're probably shopping on Amazon. So one of the things that we have now is an Amazon affiliate program, right, John? We're very
Yes,
happy
we do.
about
We're
this.
very, very happy with it.
And the thing that it is now instead of making your purchases directly on Amazon, go to AfterBuzzTV.com first. There you'll find on the home page an Amazon banner, and in fact on any page.
Yep.
So it makes it really simple. And go ahead and click that, and that'll take you to Amazon. Make your purchase that way, and we get a percentage of the proceeds.
So it
which is
doesn't
nice.
cost you anything extra. You help us out, and and we're grateful for that. So please, whenever you need to buy anything, go to AfterBuzz TV first. Click on the Amazon banner. You buy whatever you need at Amazon, and we'll get a little thank you from Amazon. So it's nice.
It is.
All right, moving on. We were talking about how the little note that Betty saw that Don wrote to Megan, and how that spurred her on to get Sally to do her bidding to become the wedge between Megan and Don. I thought, what? I mean, here she is. You're kind of rooting for her because she's having a hard time with his weight, and then she uses her kid to get between these two. I was just going, damn! Just when I was starting to like her, I thought it was horrible.
See, now, unfortunately, I've never really liked her. Like, I've tried to feel sorry for her in previous seasons, but especially last season and now the 3 episodes we've seen her in this season, she's just very conniving, and it's not. She's not a character I can really root for anymore, or have ever, for that matter. So the fact that she's trying to use her own daughter as a pawn to break up the happy marriage that Dawn has, it was so rewarding to see Sally kind of realize that after she tried to make some kind of commotion about it.
It was rewarding because it
she
confirmed your feelings about her?
She came back to Betty and just was like the way she delivered her lines. I can't remember what she said. It was something about, so how did it go when you asked Megan about Anna? And she's like, it's fine. She told me about pretty much the same thing you said.
And they spoke
But I
quite
think
fondly of her.
Yeah, spoke nothing but nice things about
That
her.
and I
like,
mean,
it was
speaking about Anna, they
so
showed
great.
the pictures. They
Right.
showed the
That's
pictures,
right.
Yeah. And so obviously the whole point was there was supposed to be animosity, and no. They
But
went
wait,
the
you know
opposite
what?
way.
Just you guys,
but
just be John, because
we're going
during
back.
the commercials, you be more specific, because
Right.
this was definitely a battle between the 3 of them, and it's just very interesting how Sally came out of it. Now
Right, because she was clearly going down the road of, what? Who did Sally was going? Oh my God, what?
So you
Wait
have a
minute,
very
Anna.
immature mom, Betty,
horrible.
who didn't develop much more than because she had her looks. It seems like to
Right,
me.
exactly. I think
And
she
for me-
stopped.
and from which we see a lot. For me, the character was. I had felt she'd played herself out the first couple seasons. Leave her in the suburbs. Let's move on to new business.
Yeah.
Now that she's here, though, I do like the weight gain, and I like. Well, I'm not saying I like. I would like someone like that in my life, but I
you
like.
yes,
I
they're
think
doing
it's
something
good
with the
writing.
character.
And so we see her being a child.
Yes.
And doing this,
Petulant.
and then John, take it from there, because you guys all had an interesting take on how it all went back and forth between the 3 of them.
Well, because when she hears that there was another another wife to her father before Betty. Sally wants to know more, of course, as any child would.
Yeah.
It's like she feels like she's being lied to, or what else is there? I just love the way they started it. You know, Sally not even talking to her dad. Dad says bye, and she's.
Dads get mad sometimes.
Sally doesn't even want to say anything. She, bye, Dad. You know, she does the the rolling of the eyes practically, and then starts laying into Megan.
Well, I love that too. That line of, "Are you gonna cry now? Or
Yeah.
are you gonna make yourself cry now?"
But I think it's kind of scary because I think Sally is so much like her mother, and I mean, I want to see her get beyond that.
I
Because
think.
I mean, because
her-
it's kind of scary to me how nasty and mean this kid
I think
can
she's
be.
both.
Yeah.
Because Dawn is a pretty cold
Yeah.
fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's like both of them.
Kids
And
stay sealed.
she's got the quest for the colored pencils, which
Yeah.
was just interesting. You
Yeah.
know, the colored pencils. But then, you know, let's not jump too far ahead,
Yeah.
and let's talk about the acting scene between her.
Yeah.
Learning,
the first one.
Yes, between her and Megan, and how to make yourself cry for a scene.
Yeah, that's gonna come back. You know that's gonna come back.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
gonna learn.
Well, it
how to
already
do
did. You
Yeah.
know, she already used it later on
that.
to
When did
say
she use it?
Just the line, that line of,
she-
"Are you gonna make yourself cry?"
Oh,
that
you're gonna
was
make
the
yourself
big-
No,
cry now.
I'm saying I think at some point she's gonna. First of all, she's already learned how to manipulate.
Come back
but
and
in an
actually
innocent
use
way.
it,
But
yeah.
now I think she's actually gonna use it at some point. Not in this scene. I mean, not this episode, but other episodes. I think that's gonna happen.
To me, she's sounding much more like a teenager than a kid.
Yeah, yeah, but even even precocious for a teenager.
Was
even
she
in
like
the
13 now?
66.
About 13?
I
I
thought
think
she was
she's
12.
Oh,
Whatever. I don't know what she is
yeah.
exactly.
She is
She's not
but
a little girl.
But I
Yeah.
buy it because we know Dawn is a genius whiz kid, and she's from that DNA, and then
Right.
she also has Betty's DNA. So
Yeah.
I buy it, and again, a hell of an actress.
Yeah, she did
Yeah.
a great job. But I was particularly impressed with the next scene when she actually goes at Megan and they're toe to toe. I mean, she's holding her own against the Megan. And you know, we
100%.
always talk about it's young versus the old. Even Megan, who we've been talking about the last few weeks, is about the young guard and all this other stuff, and she's part of that group. It doesn't matter how young you are, how old you are. There's always going to be somebody younger challenging you.
Right.
And so we got to see it in a different way this time. Usually we see the older ones like Roger and Pete and things like that.
I
Here
mean,
we
think
see
about it.
Megan.
We've done
She's 25, whatever.
we've
she
done
is.
Betty's mother-in-law
Exactly.
to Betty,
Right.
right? So there's young, old, and now Megan Betty,
Yeah.
and you're right, Megan Sally.
Exactly. We saw Megan Sally going at it. We saw, Roger being taken to task by
Ginsberg.
Peggy, and then Don and Ginsberg.
Yes.
So we got to see a lot of that today. And interesting they used the parallels in the elevators and stuff. You got to see it twice. But okay, now I'm sorry, I kind of detoured. Let's get back to the Megan Sally thing. Really interesting in that first scene when she was, just throwing it all back in Megan's face. So much anger and animus about this new Anna thing. It just heaped on Megan. I'm going, wow, so quickly thrown at Megan. It should have been, why did she take the bait from Mom? She seems a little bit, I thought, why would she not question
Well,
it?
she's 12, but she did recover. And when she overheard what...
Sure,
was that-
absolutely. But I'm
it was key that she
just
heard
like,
that.
why didn't she, because Mom said, ask Megan. And it seemed like such an obvious throw line. Like, why should I ask Megan? Why am I not asking Dad?
Mm-hmm.
Or why aren't you telling me? I thought, it's like, she seemed like, why didn't she go for that?
Oh, by the way, did you see how the mother greeted her? Get your coat. From
Yeah.
the beginning, just miserable. And it's always been that way with her.
Yeah.
Go get everyone. We have to leave.
Yeah, just not ever very warm or jovial.
No.
But do you think also some of the disappointment with Sally and Megan is that Sally, I think, has looked at Megan as being, because she said, you're my friend.
Yeah.
So it's sort of in a way she kind of holds her up to being a better mother role
I'm
than
sure.
Oh, yeah.
Betty.
And-
So
and
I think
it's-
that was that whole disappointment of
and
like,
much
you
easier-
lied to me and you didn't confide in me.
And much easier to be intimate with somebody who's not replacing your mother, but is your friend, even though she's mother figure and all that kind of stuff, so they can be close and girls and,
Yeah, and that's what I think she's
sleepovers.
kind of related to.
Yeah,
And then she was disappointed tonight because it was
yeah.
like, you're not my best girlfriend. You
No,
know?
and you lied to me.
You
and all this-
lied to
yeah,
me,
and it's-
you
it's
know.
like, no, actually, your
It's what
mom
adults do,
lied
yeah.
to you. You're sharper than this. That's the part where I think I would have liked a little bit more on that, like before she'd overheard something. That's kind of an easy out to overhear it. But she's brighter, and I would think that she would know something's up and would want to question that a little bit more before she went into. She slid into Megan too quickly for me. But even though even saying that, I loved the scene. I thought they were great, and I thought the fact that she threw the words right back in Megan's face was terrific.
So tell me about when now she goes back to the mom with to Betty when she has all this knowledge.
Yeah, because she's overheard Dawn, and that, by the way, that was a great scene too with Megan and Dawn, and Megan, again lying to Sally because no, I won't say anything, immediately,
Well,
and of course she has to.
And I like
Yeah.
that with Don in the bedroom where he goes to call and he said, "Don't call her.
Yeah.
That's what she." You know,
Yes.
And that's
that's
how
what she
smart
that
wants.
was kind of a
Megan is.
light bulb
Then
for
she'll
him.
win. She wants this.
Yeah, that's how sharp Megan is, man.
Mm.
She knew all, okay, Sally, this whole thing, and she knew right very soon into the thing that Mom told her all this.
Mm-hmm.
Mom told you to ask me, and she said, so when did your mother tell you this? So she figures all this out. Not only does she figure that out, she knows ahead. She steps ahead saying, she's just doing this to get the kid to get in between us.
Yeah.
And she has to calm Don down. Which, there you go.
And she succeeds
yeah,
Mhm.
and finally
Don, once
apologizes,
again,
backs down.
in a maroon sweater.
Backs down. And of course, Sally overhears all this and now she realizes, oh, okay, I'm the pawn. So when she goes back, really? You're going to manipulate me? Watch
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Let me show you how good I can manipulate you.
Exactly.
And what does she do with the mom?
Yeah, she basically lies to her. She says, oh, yeah, no, they told me all about it. And it's fine. They showed me pictures. They spoke fondly
Oh,
of
and
it.
then and then she becomes really cruel, especially at the end during Thanksgiving dinner, where they finish serving the bird, and then
Yeah.
Betty
wanna
goes to
say-
eat, and they said, "No, you have to wait and say grace." And
Yeah.
Sally goes, "Oh, she's hungry, Bobby." Like, just in a very
Yeah.
cold voice.
she's-
Yeah.
And she
Totally.
conversely wanted no food.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not hungry.
Exactly.
I'm okay.
But I like, they had little Betty after that one scene when Sally tells her that they spoke fondly. That throws, does the nice little whatever.
Oh,
she
throws, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
knock
yeah.
something off the table
That's
and
right.
stuff like that. Again, it's all passive aggressiveness. She's just all.
Maybe maybe
Manipulation.
we should, before we jump off this topic,
Yeah.
let's talk about Megan and actually the show, the 1960s show,
Dark
Shadows.
Which is the title of this episode.
Did they have a Tim Burton tie-in for this week? I mean, what a
I know,
promotion!
yeah.
I mean, I'm
Well, not much of a promotion
Good
when they
timing
said the
at
whole
least.
thing sucked.
but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But I mean,
it's
just
no,
the name.
let me say this.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's no coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
sure they knew
'Cause-
this movie was coming out. It's
Yeah.
just perfect timing,
Yeah.
and it's vampires, and we're dealing with demons and
Yeah.
devils,
Mm.
Yeah, exactly.
but anyway, she's with a friend
Yeah, I guess,
who's an actress.
Yeah.
Julia.
Who's preparing for a role or preparing to audition for a role on Dark Shadows. And Megan thinks it's a joke.
Well, I mean,
thinks it's horrible.
I always think of it too. I mean, some of the all the stuff that they're doing advertisements for as the company,
Yeah.
Heinz and Snowball and all
Right.
these things. You think of any kind of cultural references, even stuff that's being revived for a movie. Of course, they would
Yeah.
pitch that idea of, oh, you should do an episode that ties in with the old show.
Yeah.
It'll be great for your show reference-wise. It'll be great for our
ours.
movie that's coming out, and we'll make sure it comes out that week. So it's all advertising
Yep.
all in itself, but it's still, I mean, it makes a good plot point with with
Right.
Megan and her actor friend.
And again, that show was so far ahead of itself. I mean, today
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
how many years? 40 years later, we have to get Vampire Diaries, True Blood,
Oh,
Yeah.
and every other for cocktail vampire show.
Yeah.
But yet, 40 years ago, there was
only one.
Dark Shadows. It
Mhm.
was a soap opera
Barnabas Collins.
with Barnabas Collins and vampires.
Yeah.
And again, here we are in 1966. This big
Yeah.
progressive time. So it's just interesting.
Well, for
You
me,
know-
and speaking about Julia versus Megan, for me, what I really liked out of it, that Megan is just so clueless to this world of really earning a spot. You know what I mean? In the advertising world, she could just kind of was good at it, and because of Don, kind of got to a place, and rightfully so. Again, she was good at it, but the fact that she says, "Oh, Julia says this to Megan, some of us has to wait tables when we're not working,"
Mhm.
and she's like, she doesn't understand that world. She doesn't know earning it and things like that, and yeah.
And what she
It
said,
just
and,
dug deep.
she's
but-
told she's lucky,
Yeah.
and Megan's response is, "I am."
Yeah.
But the way the actress played it was anything but feeling as though she was lucky.
Well, and then of course when she says some of us have to wait tables for a living, and she's like, "Do you want me to apologize for
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
my my position, the state I'm in? I'm not going to." Like,
But then she says she's sorry.
yeah.
Right afterwards, but I don't know how much of it that
I mean,
was.
do I have to apologize for owning AfterBuzz that's lost about $500,000?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. You apologize
might
to
have to.
everybody, Kevin.
You know what? How about you can help us with
How
that,
can we
guys?
help?
You can just go to iTunes.
Okay. Yeah, if you would do that, if you could just go to iTunes for us, that would be a tremendous help because what really helps us is rating and commenting on us on the
If
iTunes.
you go to if you go to
Go to
iTunes,
iTunes.
and you go iTunes and you go to the podcast section, you go to AfterBuzz TV Mad Men, you'll come upon our humble show, and I'm proud to say that we almost have a 5-star rating.
Yeah.
You guys have been great.
Yes, and thank you so much for those of you who have taken the time to do so. We really appreciate it, and your comments are great and very helpful to us.
And we need them. We need them to keep coming. You know, at the end of the day, although we do video and we know the video is the future, audio is where it's at. We get over 1 million downloads now a week from over 25 different countries, and the bulk of it comes from iTunes. And the more you rate and comment, the better our standing is with iTunes. So please, and by the way,
and
criticism. Before that, questions, comments. Even criticisms, you know, we read them, and you know, for a fact, a lot of people have said, it's like, hey guys, I love your show, I know you're excited, but you talk over each other, and that's a great note. And so, and again, just the more of that, the better. And as John was about to say about the friendship, this is important too.
Tell a friend. Tell a
Please.
friend.
Yeah.
Bring him in. We
Tell
want to
him-
be part of the conversation.
Tell a friend about
Okay.
AfterBuzz. We do 50 different shows, and if your friends also shop at Amazon, well, hell, have them go to AfterBuzzTV.com, go to that banner, click on it, and buy from there, because all of it helps. We get a little kickback, and it'll keep the lights on, as we say.
So Roger has to do with Manischewitz. He's I cannot
Oh
believe
my
how
God.
bold they. I'm just going. Wow, I mean, jaw dropping. It's like, whoa, what did he say? Did he say that? Did he just say that? He did say that, didn't he?
Well, I liked
Man.
Cooper's bit where he said,
Yeah.
where he's talking about Pete with his interview.
Right.
Mr. Campbell's good for our business, but this client needs
Your
finesse.
Your finesse.
Finesse. That's how he couches it.
Oh,
man.
let's not forget. I love the scene where he's going, but you know we're divorced. He's talking,
Yeah.
saying, but you
Yeah.
know we're divorced, and then he says, no,
You
you
and
mean
Morse?
I'm divorced from this? We're getting divorced, the second wife, and
Yeah.
Robert Morse just goes.
Already?
I love that scene. It was just
Yeah.
so.
It's like, how do you not know I'm
Ready?
getting a divorce?
You know, backing up when they're all in the elevator.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, it's that old versus young. Oh, we're a hip agency. A hep.
Hep.
The world continues without us.
Yeah. And again, in the 50s, hep was hip. In the 60s, hep became hip.
Yeah.
It's just,
Hep cat.
and he thought he was mispronouncing it.
You know, and
Yeah.
they're talking about the Mayflower.
Yeah.
But man, the exchange when Roger talks to Ginsberg.
Oh yeah, brings Ginsberg
Oh
into
my
his
God, what
office,
was-
sits him
we
down.
normal people.
And well, yeah, but before we even get to that, just to set the stage, the whole thing about the dots and what does it mean? And it's supposed to mean something. Here, have a seat, and he sits in Roger's
Oh, he
chair.
sits right in Roger's. Yeah. His
And
fancy
the
modern
Roger's
chair.
like, okay. It goes to the couch and everything, and he, not gonna let that interfere or interrupt what I need to do here. So he sits them down, and then he starts with the.
He
normal
mentions Manischewitz, and Ginsberg's Grakes right away. He goes, "Oh, you assume I'm Jewish."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, and he said to him, he's like, and the product is cheap, so you relate to that
Naturally.
as well.
Naturally,
Naturally.
Yeah, cheap naturally.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like, wow, jeez. Yeah,
And you
that's
have
finesse for you.
And you have that great moment too of, again, I think this is the 4th time we've seen Roger reach into his
yeah.
pocket and pull out
Yeah.
bribe money.
Okay, here's the thing. I want you guys' opinions on this, and just hear me out so I can lay this out for you.
Okay.
Now we know that the women are treated like crap in the
Right.
60s. We've seen it, but we are seeing some growth with them. Okay. We haven't touched much upon the blacks anymore since we've gotten away from
The
Don,
water
the
bombs,
secretary, at the
exactly.
beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But now we're dealing with Jewish people.
Mhm.
When I think of Peggy's exchange with Roger,
Yes.
I feel like Peggy stood her ground better
Yeah.
against Roger, or in fact, Roger was more respectful there. It seemed like,
Yeah.
at least by this episode, that being a girl is better than being Jewish. It seemed like
Yeah.
he got off
Yeah.
for a
Well,
couple $100.
As long as you're a girl who's not Jewish.
What's that?
As long as you're a girl who's not Jewish.
Right.
Yeah.
But did it seem that way to you guys? If you
Yeah.
replay, just wait.
Yeah.
If you replay in your head
Yeah.
the exchange between Roger and Peggy
Mm-hmm.
when he needed to bribe her, and the exchange between Ginsberg and
Don.
or
Ginsberg and Roger.
Ginsberg and
Beg
Roger.
your pardon. Okay.
So, you guys think about both of those exchanges, and it seems like Peggy did better. And it
Sure.
wasn't because Peggy was better. It seemed like he was more yielding to Peggy.
She also got more money. I think she got $400.
Yeah.
from
That's what I'm saying. So I'm thinking, in this world,
Well, he certainly values Peggy more. Is
That's
it
what I'm saying.
because
Peggy's
she's a
been
woman?
there
Is it because
longer.
she's been there longer? I mean,
You think that's just
I
it,
think
though?
it's all tied in. I don't think you can extricate the two. I think it is because she's been there longer. I think it is because he's Jewish. I think he does value Peggy. Yes, because she's been there longer. Yes, because I think he values her as a woman over him as a Jew.
Well, I also think he
I don't
hired
thi-
Ginsberg as
Because
the
he's
token. I don't think Peggy got her job as a token woman. I don't think they were thinking at that point
No.
that they were going to
That's
employ
true.
a woman.
They did hire
So
him.
she
We
really
need a Jew,
earned that
remember?
job. Whereas
Mhm.
I think Ginsberg doesn't really have a lot of respect yet because he was hired as the token Jew. So
yeah.
especially Roger was very much about we got to
And
hire
then
the Jew.
yeah.
Because he doesn't have any respect for her, whereas for
Yeah.
Peggy she kind of
I-
earned
yeah,
her
and
role.
I think it's clear he doesn't have a lot more respect
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah.
No, not a
Yeah.
lot. It's
But he
still a
does.
woman. I mean,
Yeah.
they're still low.
Yeah.
But my guess is Matt Weiner was making a statement that
think so.
even
I would agree
Jewish
with that.
people are even. That's how low they were. That they even were lower than the
Yeah.
females.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Because we're seeing Megan grow. We're seeing that. We're not
Yeah.
seeing. We're not seeing it with the Jewish people. Although we're seeing Ginsberg be an absolute rock star.
Yeah, with his
With
ability.
with his talent.
Well,
Yeah.
you're getting the off-the-cuff racist remarks about
Yeah.
Jewish people, especially with the wine, where it's like they make wine for Jews and now they want to sell it to normal people, and cheap. Oh well, that's natural for you.
Well,
Like,
can we talk about Dawn and Ginsberg? I
Yes.
thought that was
Yeah.
again
Yes, that was
great.
old and new once again.
Yeah.
At it.
Yeah, but before we go to that, because we're
Okay,
still on the
sorry.
story thing, let's go to the dinner. The dinner that they had,
Oh,
the sales
yes.
dinner.
Sorry.
Okay, so
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
they're at the sales dinner. He's convinced Jane to come out with him. She's only going to do it because she wants the apartment. He agrees to that. He says, because, Roger's really good at just giving anybody what they want, especially when it's money. But he knows in the end he'll come out ahead.
yeah.
So they're at the dinner, and they're having the little tete-a-tete and the fun, small talk and, charming and all that stuff. And this is where Roger's finesse really comes in. Because he's a lot of finesse,
Great
a lot of
salesman.
charm there. He's
Yep.
really good at it. Until the sun comes. And I mean the sun is S-O-N. And wow, that he looked like Roger 20 years ago. I mean, that's what he reminded me of. He's already making the moves on Jane.
When I was her age, I rode a tramp steamer from Bar Harbor to Hilton Head.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Did you get that feeling that, it's like, don't you think he recognized Roger and recognized himself in the kid? No? Anybody?
I didn't get that feeling, but that
I-
doesn't mean I'm not right.
I saw his I guess his idea of a threat in him. I don't know if he saw himself, but he certainly saw a threat of.
What-
Of.
Do you think it was just a male ego thing?
Here-
Because he was a
Exactly, yeah.
young guy. He's obviously flirting with, even
Yeah.
though they're not married anymore, there's
but the
still
kid
that
doesn't
kind
know
of
that.
possessiveness thing, which I think led to Roger's
Yeah.
action later
Oh,
of taking
absolutely.
possession again
But
Yeah.
of Jane.
But John may be onto something because
Yeah.
remember, Roger's second generation. It was his dad
Yeah.
that built the business. Now he's meeting with the father of the Manischewitz company, and in
Yeah.
comes the son.
Yeah, and
So
the
you're
whole
right.
thing, he said you came in a steam truck. Now look at you now. So he knows that world. He
That's
knows,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And they
the
have the
fa-
yachts in common
Right.
too.
What's that?
The yachts,
Yeah,
they're
the
both
whole
interested
yachts.
in yachts.
Yeah.
I think you're right, John.
So
So
Well, I did love how he asked what boat do you have, and they
Yeah.
never answered.
he never answers. Yeah, but I completely agree with you. The reason why the whole thing happened with Jane afterwards was
Yeah.
because he saw somebody else paying attention
to her. Yeah,
Absolutely.
someone younger and someone.
And even
yeah.
though he's they're getting divorced, and he made sure everybody knew it. Well, it was clear between he and Jane and all that kind of stuff.
But then how sad that was that, for Jane? I
It
mean,
was
it's
really
like,
sad, and she
so
tells him
sad.
wait,
I
and
started to feel so sorry for this
I was like,
woman. She sort of
"Please,
said
would you-"
wait, and
Yeah.
then she just acquiesced. It was
yeah,
like
it's
she
no
didn't.
backbone, no spine, and
No
you
spine.
wonder, okay, now that's that woman. Now you wonder
Yeah.
a more contemporary woman, and we've talked about Jane being in that
Yeah.
middle zone, not really being the old school, not being the young school. What would Megan have done? Would Megan been able to stand up and say no?
I'm sure she would have.
'Cause
I think
Yeah?
she would have been more likely to say no.
Yeah.
Most likely
I
out
think
of the
so.
group.
I think so.
Yeah, because Jane obviously knew this wasn't rekindling their
No, yeah,
relationship.
she
She
knew.
knew
But-
what it was all about.
And either she was just really lonely, whatever
Yeah,
it
it
was,
was
that
almost
she
like-
allowed herself to do that.
Yeah.
And then just so tragic at the next morning,
Yeah.
it's finally the light, and you see that the boxes, she hasn't moved in, and the place is just, she can't live there.
Yeah, she
Because
said, "You've ruined it now.
ruined it all.
You've
for me."
ruined
It's
it."
I just go,
Mine was-
oh, man.
I know.
Man, why did you... Why
did you let it
Why?
happen?
Exactly. If you knew going in, you even know that
19
moment.
well,
Wait.
Well, he's amazing as a
he's
charmer,
he's
and
amazing,
remember
yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
And she was, by the way, she was also very hesitant to do this. I mean, she right off the bat said, take Joni. She's professional.
Yeah.
As she says.
But
So-
she wanted an apartment out of it. So
Yeah.
that was her currency. And that's what she was able to get out of it. But also
Didn't even
not.
get that.
And I thought of the line she said, "You get everything you want."
Yeah.
And in Roger's mind, he doesn't.
Nope.
No, nobody does.
No. Well, and it was interesting to say that about Joni because deep down she knows that if there's anyone that this guy loves, it's Joni.
It's Joni. Yeah. So, and she obviously is aware of that on some level.
Yeah.
Wow. So okay.
And how amazing is Joni with Dawn?
Oh yeah. She's good with everybody, man. She's except for the hubby. But
Well, she was at the end.
yeah, that's true. Finally. So, but yeah, she's really savvy. She really got it going on. So, was there anything more with Roger and that? I think we've exhausted that. They finally get the gig, don't they? No. I thought the whatever. I don't know who came up with the bus. I'm assuming it was Ginsberg. That was an interesting little pitch.
Yeah, no, they did get the pitch
Interesting
because he
little
came
pitch.
back and said they bought it.
How about the Manischewitz guy that called him out and was like, "Did you just come up with that?"
Yeah.
And he said, "No, we had a couple
Yeah, we
people."
just had my people. Just and again,
prepare for the
so
meeting.
just bobbing and weaving, easily, just effortless the way he does those things. Really well done.
Yeah, we're
Really well
prepared,
done.
and we wanted to show you what we were thinking
Yeah.
about.
Right.
Go
Yeah.
with us or not, we have an idea.
All right, so that leads us to Dawn. We have to get into the Dawn Ginsberg thing. So the whole thing at the top with the car, and he sees that Ginsberg is making some inroads.
And
it's
by
not
the way,
even
you guys check out the '66 Tornado.
Tornado, very nice.
Jay Leno owns one.
Yeah.
What
big
is
deal.
it? Who made it?
Made by
Ford.
Oldsmobile.
Oh, it was Olds?
Okay.
It's actually front-wheel drive, which was unheard of for a muscle car.
Right.
And if you check it out, you guys if you Google Bing, the 1966 Oldsmobile Tornado. It's an amazing looking futuristic car.
Yeah.
Pop-up lights. I actually looked into buying one a few years ago. It's just that it's LA for LA traffic. I hate having a big car.
It's like a
Yeah.
vintage car now because it's
Oh,
sort
of
of six.
course.
I mean,
Mhm.
would it stop in the 60s?
But I
Yeah.
yes, but
Okay.
what I no actually they made the Tornado into the 80s.
They did?
Oh.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it was
Wow.
like
Alright.
a
That particular
Buick
style.
Riviera was very similar to it.
Gotcha.
They,
Okay.
but I'm saying the style of the '66 is
Yeah.
crazy, and it's
Yeah.
very hot and very modern, very futuristic, and of course bright red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ginsberg's name is on it.
That's the most
representing
important
the new.
The most important
yeah,
thing is
and
it's the
and
new guard.
And
Mm.
here's the other thing: it's not Peggy's. He points out it's not Peggy's. Why she really was hit by the Heinz thing. But more than anything, I think what he's speaking to is Peggy's kind of his protege,
Mm.
and she's not. It's somebody else.
He's seeing this new threat coming,
Exactly.
especially when he
'Cause-
sees his folder of.
That's right. And there's no way Peggy could usurp his power because she's a woman.
Mm-hmm.
But
this
who
new
warned
guy.
Peggy? Remember when Peggy first interviewed Ginsberg? Who
Yeah.
was the one that warned Peggy that you wouldn't hire someone that's going to be that good because they will be competition?
Oh, I think
Yeah,
that was
that's
one of
the
her
guy.
colleagues.
yeah, but
But one of
it's
her
coming
colleagues
true.
said, I
Yeah.
can't remember which one said it.
she
though.
sort of wasn't afraid of
Yeah,
it,
well,
but it's
that's-
kind of coming
By
true.
the way, it's classic office politics, but
Mm.
I would expect a Catholic like Peggy to do no less than what she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just, oh no, but he'll be good to work with.
Yeah,
He'll be
exactly.
good. Okay, good.
Isn't it good for this?
But yeah, someone more business savvy. And
Yeah.
for, any I can't tell you how many jobs
Yeah.
in Hollywood that I've not gotten because they knew
So
that I
that-
was going to threaten them.
it-
So
Yeah.
it
There
happens
you go.
all the time.
So there's the
Yeah.
ticking time bomb. You got Don seeing Ginsberg's name on the stuff. Then you see Don looking at the private folder of Ginsberg's all his ideas and being
it-
kind of
it-
impressed by them.
It kills him the fact that he laughs. He actually
laughs
finds
at
some of them
Ginsberg
funny
stuff.
On a Saturday and dressed
Yeah.
casually.
Yeah.
Casual
and plain
Dawn.
clothes Dawn in
So
this
it
episode.
brings him into the office. We haven't seen him come into the office, or if he's in the office, he's not even working. But
But-
to have him be there on a weekend,
Yeah.
And he was bored.
he was yeah.
And he was bored, so
Yeah.
he was basically just trying to get away from the house.
That, but I'm also
apartment.
thinking, he sees this and he's like, "There's a threat here, and I'm bored here. And he's trying to do work, and it's like half-assed. What the hell is he talking into the recorder for? And, it's like-
Yeah.
and he comes up with this thing, and when he pitches the ideas, there's kind of mixed
They're
reaction.
kind of lame. It's kind of
Yeah.
soft. You see him losing it. I
Yeah.
mean, just him and the
Losing it.
dictaphone. and coming up with a snowball's chance in hell. It was like,
Yeah.
nah,
But
it wasn't this groundbreaking idea like he always
like
has.
he's had before. And then when Ginsberg says, "Oh, it's impressive.
That's
really,
actually good.
Actually good.
You haven't done it for a while.
For you to be out of the game for so long and come with something
it's really
you
nice, you know, for you not to write for so long to come up with an idea that's actually good.
Jesus, what? I mean, and again, that's the stupidity of youth. I mean,
right?
Say stuff like that,
but
also the
But you know when it talked about backing up a little bit, when it talked about characters people hate.
Yeah.
Remember, it was like a police chief. It could be
Yeah.
an Indian chief.
Even he has his own prejudice.
Yeah, all
yeah
things people hate.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Or a pig.
Yeah.
And I was going, okay, was a pig? Is that a veiled reference to
and
the
by the
Jewish
way,
thing?
when Ginsberg sat in Roger's chair, it seems much deeper than him just being clueless and obnoxious. It seems symbolic. Yeah, that he will sit in the captain's chair one day.
Yeah, I don't think it was it certainly wasn't a conscious thing. At least I didn't read that when he sat in that. It was almost like, you know, an unaware thing. But I think it is. I mean, certainly to Roger, certainly to Don, those kinds of things that are more symbolic than just the guy doesn't.
Well, let me ask you this: was he even asked to sit yet?
Yeah, he said have a seat.
Oh, Roger did say that, because I know that's like a big thing. Like most kids nowadays too, they just kind of assume you have a seat.
Yeah.
And the whole point is no, you have to be asked to be seated.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But I thought it was great that he offered his that recklessness of youth. That he offers his opinion beyond what he needs to, and gets himself in hot water, and doesn't even realize that he's insulted Don. Don says, "Oh, I'm glad I could surprise you," and still doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Still is unaware. It's like this guy's not paying attention.
And what about he was quoting some poem, and it was like, you need to read the rest of the poem.
I don't know the poem. Unfortunately, and I didn't have time to look it up before.
This is what happens when you go up 5 minutes.
That's right. Yeah, we don't have enough time to research.
Sorry to our fans.
So not only does he, when he makes the pitch in the room when they're first talking about it, but then when they have an artwork put together and they show it to Pete and the other guys, his idea loses. Don's idea loses to Ginsberg. So he's just for me it was like taking. You knew Don was going to do something every step of the way. This kid's coming.
Here comes the new guard.
It's like, man, I got to do something here. And so and what he does is leaves it in the cab. He leaves the artwork in the cab. So and then his rationale is, I only like to pitch one idea.
It's weakness to do two.
Yeah, it's kind of right. But the thing, just to give Don a little bit of credit on this, I get the feeling that anything with Ginsberg's got nothing to do with the fact that Ginsberg's Jewish. When it comes to Don, I don't think that matters at all to him.
Yeah, I don't think he cares.
What do you think about that? Because you had early on in the episode, you had picked up the whole anti-Semitism going back and
from
forth.
Don?
Oh no,
just in general, the general note of the episode.
That was just the most that I had picked that up with. Was just, I mean, with Cooper as the oldest member of the company, essentially saying just the Semitic wife and talking. It was just.
You don't think it bothers Don that's on those things? It's Ginsberg, Jewish.
No, I don't get that sense.
I don't see that. I see more. I see more exactly of the new.
He
the
seems
new
very
Don
fair-minded.
That's what I'm saying.
I think it's there, but I think it's lesser.
I don't know. I tend to think Don takes people at. I don't think things like whether they're a woman or whether they're Jewish or whether.
But he is a product of the time, and I don't think that
he considers that.
Yeah, I think it's there. I just don't think it's on the surface where it is with Roger. He can't. It's just all over the place. But I don't think Don has it.
I think beginning of the series up till maybe season 3, you saw a lot of some of that subtle racism and sexism of the times with Don, and by now it's really starting to shed, and he's really seemed, especially when he's married to Megan, he's being a little more open-minded, so that could be there, but I just didn't pick up on that with Don. I picked it up with, especially with Roger and Cooper, and I mean, just the whole whole conversation about Manischewitz.
Yeah, because I think for Don it's just the ego thing of the young kid, kind of, you know.
So
it's a competitive thing. It's not.
I think
nothing
it was
to do with
mostly
where who
But
he
let's
is.
talk about so we can be in agreement that sure it's weak to go in with 2 ideas. You can say that. You can argue it the other way. Your idea is so strong you don't mind being competitive with anybody. So who knows? But it's interesting that he chose to leave it in the cab. I mean, you know, why? Why even take it? Or if you know, what's the, you know?
Well, for me, it should have been. I mean, you know, again, we're talking about him kind of being weaker throughout this whole season. Maybe he is finally being a little bit stronger, but you know, he commissioned both things to have artwork done. He should have just been like, no, we're gonna go with the devil, and that's it.
Well, I'm guessing that he thought his devil idea would win until they saw it, until Pete and whomever voted the other one. So he did the artwork thinking, once they see everything, I'm sure I'm going to win.
I think
that's what I think his hubris got to him there.
I think
but
also
then when it
too,
didn't,
I think also too, he doesn't want to show any form of insecurity to new employees, especially at the beginning where Joan said, you know, you're the creative administrator. I think that was the term.
Yeah.
He's not in his old job where he was the rainmaker client. He wasn't the guy who brought in clients. He's more of the manager of these creatives.
And he's not ready to take that role.
And by the way, who knows what was edited? Who knows what happened in the cab to trigger that decision?
Yeah,
to say,
exactly.
F this.
Yeah.
It's my move. You know what?
Yeah.
Leave that thing behind.
And he waits till it's empty too. They say, "Do you need a hand?" And he says, "No, I'm not taking both." And then they step out, and he waits for a moment and drops it.
Can we talk about them in the elevator?
Yeah, but before we get there, I want to finish this real quick because, you know, all of him. You know, we're talking about him being weaker this season.
Well, passive aggressive too. It kind of bothers
every
me.
step of the way,
it's not just weaker. He's just become this passive aggressive person, which is kind of something I didn't think Don was.
A lot of that we saw
and
today.
I think even that move with the taxi thing is a passive aggressive.
It is.
Oh, I left it in the cab.
Because
I'm not saying he said that, but
if he's the
sorry.
alpha male, he would have said from the get-go, "No, we're going with this one."
I was a big
4
fan.
times he could have said that.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the very end where it's him and Ginsberg in the elevator.
Yeah, but before we get to that, we're still talking about this because what I want to know is what do we think that's what are they doing with the character there? What are they going to show? What's the arc there? He's getting weaker because the alpha male doesn't do that.
Yeah, but the young guard, the alpha male, is being threatened.
I know, that's what I'm wondering. But wouldn't you assert yourself even more?
But even like just referring back to last week when Megan decided that, you know, he's doing this every time.
You would assert yourself more, but he's also in a quandary at home. He's in a quandary over his talents, and there's the side of him that kind of doesn't care anymore about the job, but then he's trying to rally and care.
And you're also seeing the younger generation and the younger employees acting out more. I mean, Ginsberg a couple episodes ago where they had a pitch and then as soon as it was done, they said it was great, and he pitched his other idea that they didn't even bring up in the meeting. They're being more outgoing, and they're certainly more assertive vocally.
Yeah, I'm
you know what, John?
I'm not arguing.
It ain't over.
I know that, but
it ain't over.
Like
the aggressive,
him,
but it might.
I know, but that's what I'm wondering is because you would expect that he would be aggressive first, and then have that backfire, and then try something else.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of life left in the show, and I think you're going to see exactly
I'm hoping so, because it was very interesting that we went down that road rather than what you would expect to see, at least in my view. It's like, why are they doing this? Why, 5 steps along that, where's the guy that would take charge and go, no, we're doing this one. I'm only doing one, and this is the one I'm doing.
I think he did take, maybe you could call it passive aggressive, but I think he took a little bit charge back in the elevator with that line of, I don't care about you at all.
That's vintage Don. That was vintage Don.
That was.
But we haven't seen him for a while.
That's what I was going.
No, he said. Ginsberg says, "I feel sorry for you."
I don't think about you at all.
And Don's response is,
"I don't think about you at all."
Yeah. So that's the Don we
Well,
and it was just so, man, it was awesome.
You see that old Don, especially in the line before that where he says, and it's like, oh, that's my idea and it would have been better. It's like, oh, I guess I'm lucky you work for me.
Yeah. He's just putting him in his place, letting him know.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, yeah, there you go. And again, I'm the parallels. We saw a lot of, we saw Sally taking on the older Megan. We saw Peggy taking on the older Roger. We saw Ginsberg taking on the older, and they each. And I love the parallel scenes with the 2 elevators with Roger and Peggy, and then you got to see, Don and Ginsberg. Boy, that was totally different.
And their outfits, Ginsberg's in the plaid.
Yeah,
and,
he's crazy.
Again, much more modern, and he's much more.
And even the visual of them, Don being so tall and big, and then Ginsberg is kind of like, and rumpled a little bit, and that was just a good look. That was a great look. So, anyway, thank you for hanging out with me on that, because I wanted to get to that point before we got to the elevator. But the elevator was a great scene. Loved that scene. Very well written, very sharp, and concise. Nice.
Executives do need a separate elevator. That's what I did. That's what I learned.
Yeah, Roger, that was great.
I think that was the funniest Roger line this episode.
Yeah, that was really good. That was good. Well, the only thing else I wanted to talk about, we have a few minutes here, was Pete's little fantasy.
Oh yes.
What we find was
Wow.
a fantasy. The scene was like, whoa, where are we going here? What's
Seriously.
going on
Yet-
here? Little Rory Gilmore.
Yet another example of AMC kind of pushing their boundaries as to how far they can go. I mean, last week, I think it was last week with the Beatles cover, which wasn't exactly the cover, and they said,
Which we'll talk about in our
Yeah.
special segment.
turn the music off, and you have Ginsberg actually swearing, and they had to mute that out, but the
Yeah.
actual performance was there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, little Rory Gilmore, the actress Alexis
Bledel,
Bledel,
yeah.
yes, her in just a fur coat with nothing else on. I mean,
Well,
that's
she had little lingerie on
Just
the
a little
lower,
bit.
lower half.
Nothing up the top.
yeah, exactly. Ooh, but
Rory
Enough to
showed
keep
off her
us
Gilmore
guessing.
Girls.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right?
Wow, but and you, how disappointed were we when it was actually a fantasy?
I'm feeling sorry for Pete. He's kind
I was
of
going,
really,
poor Pete.
Well,
he's really fallen for this
Right.
woman.
and also very consistent with his character,
Yeah.
where it was all about the New York Times article. I'm
Oh,
going to finally
yeah.
get attention.
Yeah,
And-
and then when it
Ah.
doesn't get
And
it, it's like,
he equivocates that attention's actually going to get him laid.
yeah.
That's some imagination you've got.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, I mean, last week he was so assertive with his need to continue that affair.
Yeah.
I mean, I was hoping that it wouldn't be over in this little midday fantasy.
Well, is
I'm
it
not
over?
sure
I'm
it
not
is
sure
because
No, I
the
don't
way
think
he,
Well,
I
she
mean-
gave him a clue last year with a little heart, so
Yeah.
it's not like
Not over.
it's not
Oh, no.
over.
Yeah, not
It's
over.
Come
not,
on.
not
And
by
then
a
when
long
he's-
shot.
when he's on the train with Howard at the end, that's bold.
Whoa!
I like that.
How bold is that?
Oh, man.
Man, how about,
Tell you what.
yeah.
You spend
then-
the week, spend the holiday
Yeah.
with her, and I'll go home and screw you.
And Howard not even thinking it's a possibility. Doesn't,
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck with
buddy.
that. Like she must be,
It's like,
in his
oh.
mind, she mustn't be very
Oh
sexual.
my
Yeah.
God, how tragic is that?
And how
Horrible.
typical.
That's true. How typical. Just no respect, no
Just
regard.
typical male and just so self-absorbed.
Oh
you
my
know.
God, that was just tragic. Well, I think we've exhausted our
Yes.
topics, and I think
Anything
we
Oh,
else?
can go to our
just
break.
want to talk a little
Oh,
bit
wait,
more
wait, we
about
got
that
here.
New York
What's that?
Times article.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah,
Wasn't
of
that
course.
kind of basically saying that this, because he thought he pitched it, from my understanding, watching it, that as they were the hip advertisers, and the New York Times didn't even
Yeah, they didn't even
include
mention
them.
it. Yeah.
Isn't that a huge thing? And what was the Peter, Paul, and Mary? This
They
was like
went-
another.
That was another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But, I mean,
again,
that's
Peter,
quite
Paul,
a-
and Mary is mid to late 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The totally an epitome of the 60s music scene and the late 60s music scene. Not not Motown, not it's that which was taking us to Woodstock and all those other places. And so to reference them, it's basically the new guard.
That's what I'm saying. So this article is about the newer guard than what
Yeah.
they are now.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I thought that was quite a slap,
they're
really,
getting
because
pushed
they
out
came
before
in
they
as
even get to the
they
top.
were the hotshot advertising
d-
group,
well,
and
was-
already they're old guard.
And if you take away Ginsberg and maybe Peggy, I mean, Pete
Yeah.
doesn't represent the new guard.
No,
Yeah.
he's the old school.
He's old school,
Yeah.
masquerading,
Mhm.
as a young person.
Yeah. He's kind of like Jane in that sense. He's not of the old school, and he's certainly not the younger. So, all right. So, Phil, if you would please take us to our break.
Oh wait, what are we gonna do after the break?
I
AfterBuzz
told him.
TV.
Well, what's up? What's up?
Wait,
He's wondering what we're
well,
gonna do for our special
because you
segment.
want to make sure they come back.
Yeah, we're gonna do our
Catherine,
Beatles.
tell us what are we gonna talk
Our
about?
special
when we get
segment
back?
is the Beatles.
Oh, well, just how this show continues to make news every time after the show goes on. And this was massive news this week about the use of the Beatles song. So
All right.
incredible.
We'll come back and
Incredible.
talk about it.
Nice.
AfterBuzz TV. Hi, I was once like you, a lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And, like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives, and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows, and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV. AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
All right, we are back, and as our resident journalist, I'm going to turn this over to you. Talk to us about the news that Mad Men made with the Beatles.
Extraordinary. Like I
Yes.
said, this show, since the beginning, I think this season more than any of the past seasons, episode by episode, there has been such a flow on from the first one with the doobie doobie doo, and even that Howard Johnson made massive news, and then this was even bigger again because we had a Beatles song that was used in last week's episode.
Very rare.
Very rare. Well, extremely rare. Tomorrow Never Knows was used at the end of the episode from the Revolver album because Don was kind of trying to catch up with the youth, and this was just unprecedented because basically, well, first of all, it was reported that something has never been licensed like this from the Beatles, and extremely expensive to license any Beatles songs, as they mentioned in the show. So it's reported that they must have paid up to about $250,000 to just get these minute or minute and a half of song. I mean, and it is pretty unprecedented. It was used. Apparently, this song back in the 60s when there was a Beatles cartoon. Does anyone remember a Beatles cartoon?
Oh, I do remember that. I mean, I never saw it, but I do remember they did it.
Yeah, so that was it. But then Matthew Weiner just said that he really felt that he needed to do this because Beatles is so iconic and so relevant to this era. And he really had to do a lot to get this song. Even basically he had to get like script approval, and he almost had to construct the episode last week.
Which he normally does not
He would never let anyone read his script. And this was what's incredible.
Or even do the story. He doesn't even tell them the story.
Tell them the storyline. And basically he had to do this to Apple, who owns the licensing for the Beatles songs. He had to agree to that, which is something that he would never do, just to be able to get this song in.
You guys think it was a worthwhile investment?
Well, the fact that they've gotten so much press out of it, I don't know whether that was the intention, but the fact that this has just created... New York Times did a huge article, LA Times did a huge article. I mean, just the talk and the chatter about this.
Then, it was
from that point of view, I don't know if that was the intentional. I think for Matthew Weiner, it was just about being artistic and that the fact I need to get the Beatles.
Well, that's what I'm asking more. Artistically, do you think it paid off? Because for me, I totally think it did. Revolver was the album that bridge the Beatles from being bubblegum into what they grew to from 66 to 69. Of course, it fits perfectly with the show. And I thought last week's episode was amazing. And I thought they picked the perfect song. So for me, I love when producers and networks will write the check for something. I was talking to someone from HBO. I'm like, how the hell did you write a check for John Adams? All of that, because where do you get your money back? Really? I mean, and they said, we really kind of don't, but we monetize in other ways. It gives us respectability, and there's other ways. And so, but
because then you have more and more actors wanting to work for HBO. So then you do make your money from it, just not directly necessarily. You hope to make.
Right, and the old speaking of old new guard, old guard doesn't get that. They're all I'm from Mississippi, the show me state. They want money right in their hand. But the newer guard understands that there's such a value to the extra publicity or just something really very cool creatively.
And I think just so essential for that scene with Don to be playing Revolver.
Oh, and not getting it. And not getting it.
No other band would have fitted into that scene. I mean, if you had a Beatles-like band, it just would not have worked. That scene had to be.
And then Tomorrow Never Knows. I mean, the whole thing.
Everything worked just perfectly, like Weiner does on everything he does in the show. It just all connects so well, and. It's funny. Who would have thought, you guys, when we started watching this, however many seasons ago, that we would see Don as an older man? Isn't it? It doesn't blow you away. It doesn't blow. But again, I buy it because you were an old man at 40. Back then. Well.
Now we all feel old.
Little hot on the computer.
Sorry. He didn't blow anybody's ears out on that one. All right, well, that's...
And of course, we won't be playing any of that Beatles songs because it would be way too expensive.
Exactly.
That's true, but the other little thing about the trivia about the Beatles is the first song that was in that episode, not the first one, but they were looking for a knockoff song that sounded like the Beatles, and they played some song, and I can't remember the name of it at the moment. and everybody's listening to it. I go, oh, who is this?
Well, actually, can I just read that?
Yeah,
It's a
go
bit,
right ahead.
Another hit of Beatles, a bit of Beatles trivia referenced in the episode "September in the Rain."
There
The
it is.
Wedgwoods track that Draper and his colleagues contemplate as a substitute for an authentic Fab Four tune is one of 15 songs the Beatles performed at a 1962 audition for Decca Records. That label turned them down. The Beatles signed with Parlophone, and the rest is twisting, shouting, walrus identifying history.
There you go.
Wow.
There it is. We binged that earlier.
Nice. Being is for doing, after all.
That's right. Speaking of doing, let's do our predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, who's got anything? Here's what I hope. I hope we see more of Don, the elevator Don,
Yes, I want that Don back.
and I hope we see it start. And I hope we see him fail at it, so that there's more for him, more grist for the mill, and he can have to find a new way to be in the world. Because we're gonna see.
I mean, I think all I can see is I think we know that Pete and this and the mistress they're gonna roll around again.
I think
Yeah,
so.
that's bound to keep going.
And
yes.
I think the overall thing is we're gonna continue to see old guard versus new guard. My prediction is that at the end of the season, old guard will win, only to of course be defeated
in the next season.
Yeah.
And
Because it did.
Do you feel that Don and Megan's marriage is going to really? Do you think it's strong, or do you think that he's kind of he's walking on eggshells with her?
He's made concessions.
Yes.
She's no housewife.
Yeah.
He's almost gotten what he wished for. No, I think that it's only going to get worse. The fact that she basically, when she said, "Yeah, I am lucky," and the fact that she can conjure tears so easily is she doesn't feel very good about her life with him. And I think the fact.
Wait a minute, but she said you're everything I dreamed you would be.
Right.
But
So
he's not being himself.
Well, I know, but I think that's the problem. I think she
problem.
actually
But
is
then it's like-
believing the.
Okay, no, but everything
Very
dreamed you would be. So imagine, John, at 26. That's the end of your dreams.
That's what I mean,
I
I
don't think
think-
that meant that was a good thing.
Oh, so I think in her mind at the moment. It
Yes,
is.
and the subtext is
Yeah.
she's too young for it to just end there, and that's what her father had said.
Right, but I also
You're
think
settling.
because it's the whole dream thing. Yeah, it's a dream. You're not
It's
living
not
in
real.
reality.
That's
yet.
right. And I think the fact that on a Saturday he's in the office, and if he was in the office, you guys, and his sleeves were rolled up, and he was sketching away, I get it. But he's not. He's smoking. He's looking out the window. He's stretching.
He's doing.
But he's not home with his
No.
wife.
Or his kids. He didn't
or
have
his
anything
kids.
to do with it.
So no, I think that we're on thin ice. I think
Yeah.
we're on thin ice all over the place.
Yeah, I
with this.
mean, everything's just like that.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna say that I don't think Pete's gonna be with Beth, because it's so good that Pete just fantasizes but can't have her.
Yeah.
You think
that's
that'll-
Pete.
you think
Pete doesn't get?
He always
things like
falls
that.
short.
Yeah,
he does.
So they may happen, but it's gonna be a while. And it happens again, it's gonna be horrible. Something bad's gonna be done.
No. What I say happen again is I think another roll in the hay. I don't see them leaving their partners and getting married.
No, not at all.
But I see it creating trouble.
Yes.
Lots of trouble
Yes,
for him.
Absolutely.
Of course, I love you. I'm giving up my life to be with you, aren't I?
Okay.
Very nice.
Thank you very much, Phil. All right. Anybody else got any other predictions for us?
I'm just excited to see clips with Lane again. It's been a few
I
episodes.
can't wait.
It's
We love
been
Lane.
too many
Yeah.
episodes
What
without him.
do we think? Do you think Betty's gonna lose the weight?
By the end
Probably not. No, I don't think so.
I'd love to see her lose
I
the
hope
weight.
not, but
And
I would love it, but John, it was back in that time they generally didn't.
I know, but
Yeah.
it would be interesting if she did. And what if she did and made a play for Dawn? Huh?
I know she's such an old lady now, like
Yeah,
you said,
it
with
could
the
be,
house
but it would be interesting because what would that do with the Megan Dawn thing? I mean, she already's trying to
I
drive
don't
a
know,
wedge
yeah,
there.
It ruined it. First episode of the season in a pink house coat.
Yeah.
We're done.
All right.
No, I think she might come back. I think once she loses the baby weight, the real.
You know,
the-
I
Yeah.
had
think we
heard.
might see her in a
but
skinny
I'd heard
dress
Jen-
again.
I had heard Jenny Ray Jones was moving on to movies and all that stuff last year.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think it's time to kind of phase that out.
Phase her
Well,
out.
well, let's let our audience know where they can find us if they want to get a hold of us.
Oh,
Josh?
yes. No, Twitter, follow me at JJG32.
That's easy to remember.
Yeah.
At Undergaro.
Catherine.
I don't have a Twitter.
Okay.
But she does do
But-
the revenge after show here at
Thank
AfterBuzz
you.
TV.
Yeah.
And LA Times, right?
love
You
that
can
show.
sign with the LA
Kevin,
Times.
how are you an LA Times writer and you don't have a Twitter? Come on,
I
speak of the
know.
old guard versus the new guard.
I'm still old guard.
You are
Too
old guard.
Too old guard.
we got to change that.
Phil, they'll
Yes.
find you here, right?
They can find me here,
Okay.
here on
Do you
other
have a
shows.
Twitter?
No.
Well, hang on. I'm not the only one.
No,
I'm not a journalist.
John's also old guard.
Yeah, that's right. So,
Good for the old guard.
all right. So, thank you very much for listening. On behalf of Josh Gardner, Phil Svitek, Captain Tulich, and Keven Undergaro, I'm John Comerford saying thank you much, and we'll see you next time.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.